In this video, I'm going to be going over the remainder of the setup phase, and then I'll be going into the tactical phase, the core mechanics of how to move your ships and take control of uncontested planets. So, you'll notice, leading off from the last video, that I've completely set up the board by placing the system tiles. And now you can see up at the top left of the screen, the turn indicator is asking us to place our starting units. So we can utilize the help button, but here I'll walk you through it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is click on your home system. And you're going to notice at the bottom of the screen, there is this button here that says Build Units. So pretty self-explanatory. If you don't have your home system clicked and you click Build Units, system selected is not your home system. So we'll have to go ahead and click our home system there, bring it up. And now once we click Build Units, we'll be brought to this new screen here. So to place our starting units, there's a couple of things we can do. We can either choose to automatically place the units and have the game do that for us, or what we can do is click each unit individually and decide where we want to place them on the board. Now, for the L1Z1X MineNet, there is only one valid location for all these units. So ships have to go in space, structures and ground forces have to go on planets. So really the automatic placement here is your friend. Other factions that have multiple planets, you may want to decide where you want to put your space dock, your PDS. Maybe you want to distribute your infantry evenly between planets or put them all on one planet. The help button here will tell you how to manually place your starting units. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the automatic placement button. And when we click that, we'll get a confirmation prompt about how we're placing our starting units. If you want to place your units individually, what you do is you click the model and then you click the region where you want to place them. So for example, if I click this ground force model and attempt to click the space region, then my infantry is placed there in the space region, right? A lot of people think that's not really an optimal play. So actually I kind of misspoke when I said there's only one valid place for all the units. The infantry actually can either go in space or on the planet. Now, if you don't like placing your infantry in space and you made a mistake, you can click this red button that'll undo your choices, and now you can see that we actually have 5 there again instead of 4. So we can place that on the planet 0.0.0. But if I find this too much work, I can click auto placement, and here you'll get a confirmation prompt of where everything is placed. So 3 fighters in the space area, 1 carrier, 1 dreadnought, and then units on 0.0.0, all the infantry, the 1 PDS, the 1 space dock. So we can click confirm there, and we'll be brought back to the main screen. So we now get a prompt to select secret objectives to discard. But before I do that, let's just take a look now at the board, and you can actually see that there's these unit models that have shown up on them because everyone has now placed their starting units. So you'll notice a few things. As I hover over these units, they actually show up in the blown up view here for the unit card. Same thing with enemy units. Now you can actually drag around these ships to see like how the board would look if you want to like strategize a bit. But this doesn't actually alter the state of the game. So if you're moving stuff around, just playing around, how do you put the board back to how it originally was? These are what these 2 buttons are for that I was alluding to in the previous video. So if you click this red loopy arrow button, it'll put all the units back where they should be. So there you go. If you click this fighter icon token, it'll actually toggle the visibility of the ships in case you want a more clear view. You can also now see that in place of those ships are these markers, these dots, and these dots are indicators that a ship is indeed in the system. We can toggle the visibility back. Another thing you'll notice is that there's only one fighter icon that shows up in the system, and that's to prevent cluttering. So if you want to know how many fighter icons are in the system, you can just do a quick hover over, and you can see there's 3. The same thing for structures and ground forces. So if we hover over the infantry icon on this planet, we'll see that there's 5 infantry, 1 PDS, and there's only ever going to be 1 space dock on a planet. So that's a little bit about the unit models there. The other place that you can get a concise view of the number of ships in the system or units on a planet, for example, if we click the Emirates of Hakan home system, as usual, we get the blown up hexagon here. If we click the space region, we actually will see the unit models as well as the counter icons to show us how many of each unit is in space. As well as if we click the planets, we can see now that there's 4 infantry and 1 space dock on our Etse. So that's another way to look at your units. So that's just a little bit about the unit models there. Let's head over onto Alice's tab now to see how we can pick our secret objectives. So the game will deal you 2 secret objectives that you and only you can view. And the way you want to do this is very straightforward. You double click the card you want to discard, and the game, again here, important to read the confirmation prompt, the game will ask you to confirm you want to discard that card. So say, for example, we want to discard from a spy network. We're going to go ahead and double click it, and we're discarding from a spy network, so we'll confirm that, and we're going to see the other card get animated into our secret objective deck, and the other one will disappear. So now if we click our secret objective deck, we can actually see that we have 1 card in there now, and that's destroy their greatest ship. If you go over to the player info tab, now you'll see under Alice's tab that the secret objective count has been updated, but other players don't know what it is. They just know we have 1. The game log will update, right? So you can actually see here we skipped a bunch of system placements, but you can see now in the most recent game log that we discarded one of our starting secret objectives. Now let's go ahead and get the other players to choose their discard their objectives. Okay. Okay, and then the next part of the setup phase is strategy phase, when we have to select a strategy card by double clicking it. So going over to Alice's tab here, the strategy cards will be brought up for us, and because this is a 3-player game, we're actually going to be selecting 2 strategy cards. 1 at a time though, and Alice will go first because Alice is the speaker. So the way we do that is just like we did for the secret objectives, we double click the strategy card we want. So if we want leadership, we double click leadership, and we can confirm that. And it'll disappear from the top here, and it now will appear down in our little personal area. Let's go ahead and get Charlie to take politics. Bob can take diplomacy. Back to Alice, maybe we'll take construction. We'll get Charlie to take technology. And let's take warfare here. So pretty straightforward there. Again, if you're ever not sure, the help button is your friend. Before we move on to the first part of the tactical steps, I want to just draw your attention again back to the game logs. Now, just if we scroll back up here and we go back to where all these systems were placed, anytime you see a system name in blue or a planet name in blue, if you click on these blue links, two things will happen. Well, first, if you hover, the system gets highlighted on the game board. But even better, if you want like a closer look at this system, if you click it, you'll actually get zoomed in and centered to it on the map. So anytime you see these blue links, just go ahead and click them if you want to be taken directly to where they are, especially if it's saying empty space. You don't know which empty space it is. You can go ahead and click that. But that's just a nice little navigation feature there. If you hover over these other ones, you can see that the cards show up here. So the first two objectives have actually now been revealed, but we'll get into objectives later on in the tutorial videos. So to end this video, I'm going to go over the core mechanics of moving ships, and how to take uncontested planets and then end your turn. So the first thing you want to do is activate a system. That is the first step if you want to go ahead and try to take a planet. So how do you activate a system? Well, first off, you'll notice we're being asked to perform an action. So if you want to activate a system, you double click the system you want to activate on the board. So the most obvious choice here is the Abyss Freya system with those 5 resources. So I'll double click it and then I'll be asked to confirm my choice. So I'll click yes. What you're going to notice now is a couple of things. First is our command token is now placed in the system. And second is the system is now flashing, and that'll happen anytime there's an active system in the game. The command token actually also shows up on the big hexagon when you click it now. Your player info tab should also be updated. So you should have 1 less tactic token, so instead of 3 you have 2 now. And the game log reflects the system activation there. Now, the nice thing about system activation is you have the ability to undo it. Just in case you misclicked here, you can undo it, and then undoing this will bring you right back to the perform an action step. Now, you'll notice here, and this is very important, that you're always paying attention to the turn indicator. So we've activated a system, and what's happened now is an ability round has opened up. So what is an ability round? Resolve an ability, and in parentheses, it'll always tell you what the name of the ability round is. So system activated. This is where you would play any game components that relate to the system activated timing window. So for example, probably the most popular card to play during this timing window is flying speed. And we'll see that later on. I'm not going to go in depth as to playing things out in the timing window right now because it's very early in the game and we don't have components to do. But just keep in mind that these timing windows are critical to the app and you want to pay attention here to what they're saying. If there's nothing you can do during this timing window, you can click pass. Now, sometimes players think they're passing on the next step in the tactical action, like move ships, but that's not the case for 2 reasons. One, because the turn indicator does not say anything about moving ships. Also, if you click pass, it's going to ask that you want to pass on the ability round, not moving ships. So we'll confirm that. Now you can see that we're brought to the step of choose units to move. So we have a few new buttons that have come up. So first we have the undo button still there, and that's because we can still undo our system activation and then return to the start of the perform an action timing window if we want. But we're not going to do that. We want to move ships into the Abyss Fria system. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing you want to do is click the system you want to move ships from. So in this case, the home system. Now, if you recall, if I click on the space region of this system, I can bring up my ships. Now, because there's 2 planets there, maybe I want to bring 1 carrier, since it has capacity of 4, and then I can bring 2 fighters and 2 infantry along for the ride. So how do I do that? Well, click the units that you want to bring. So notice here, when I click the carrier, you're going to actually see the counter go down. So it went down from 2 to 1. Then I'm going to click my 2 fighters, and so those are gone because I've selected them all. Now I'm going to navigate over to Arets, and I'm going to click 2 infantry. So the token will go down from 4 to 2. And so right now I have a carrier, 2 fighters, and 2 infantry selected for movement. So how do I confirm this movement? You'll get a summary if you click the green check mark here. And it'll ask you that, it'll show you the system, and you could have multiple systems you're moving units from, but obviously we only have 1 right now because it is the start of the game. So 2 fighters, 1 carrier, and 2 infantry. If we didn't like this, we can undo all our selections by clicking this red X, and then everything will be reset. The other option you have is when you click a system, you can actually choose to select a shortcut to select all units that are possible for movement from the system. So if I do that, now I've selected all the space units at once, as well as all the infantry in the system at once. And you can see that reflected in the confirmation prompt if you go to confirm that. But let's just stick with our original plan, which was the 1 carrier, 2 fighters, and the 2 infantry. And let's go and read our confirmation prompt very carefully. And we'll confirm. And now, if you're paying attention, you'll actually see the board update here. Infantry and space don't show up on the board, so I'll actually have to click them in the system to see them. But you can see now in the Abyss Fria system, all of the units we wanted to move are there, and they have been updated on the board as well. So next, the turn indicator is asking us to commit ground forces to planets in the active system. So this is similar. We click on the system with our infantry, and what you're going to do here is you're going to click the infantry model, and you'll get this modal open up, and you can distribute your infantry as you see fit. So because we have 2 infantry, we can place 1 on Abyss and 1 on Fria, and we'll click done. You'll notice the infantry are now gone from the space region. Now either again we can undo our choices by clicking the red X, or we can go ahead and click confirm, read the confirmation prompt, click yes. Now we haven't taken control of the planets yet because we have to perform the establish control step, which is very straightforward. But just to check here, you can see that the infantry have landed on the planet, one on each planet there. And you can click them as well on the enlarged hexagon view. Finally, we'll establish control by clicking the green check mark. Now we're being told to end our turn. If we open up our planet deck now, we can see we have those 2 cards and they come to us as exhausted. So they will show up as gray. To end our turn, all we're going to do is click this red pass button, and we're just going to pass on to the next player. So we'll click pass, and we'll confirm that. And now it's on to Bob. And so that's the core tactical steps of activating a system, moving ships, committing ground forces, establishing control, and ending your turn. That's going to do it for this video. In the next video, we're going to go over some of the strategy cards and see how to perform their primary and secondary abilities. So look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.